All right, happy Wednesday, everybody. To get us started here, we're going to take a look at Cleber's. He's got two animated versions of this shot. That was V2. This is V1. You talked about there's some minor flickering going on. Totally fine. We can clean that up later. I just wanted to look at your two versions, and to be honest with you, they're pretty, like A being the first frame, and looking through it, like they're pretty similar. I like V2 a little bit better. I love the camera move, by the way. This actually reminds me of, like, if you have an Apple TV, the slow motion drone footage that they always do. It reminds me of that. I love the speed of it. I love the high quality slow motion, slow moving bubbles feel of it. I would also like to get, and right now I'm just going to give some general notes. I would like to see these God rays animated a little bit back here, so they can kind of like, swim around back there a little bit, and get that going on. But the other main aesthetic qualities I'd really like for you to work on with this one is the lighting on the character feels pretty flat. And there's like the character lighting, the main character lighting is the biggest thing that I want you to work on, because there's two things that are going on. Number one, this band on the top of his visor doesn't seem to be getting light. Like this key side of his face, it should be like there should be some illumination there. We're not really seeing that. The other part of it is that his head is round, and it really is feeling more graphically flat, in that there are kind of two values on his face. There's either this value that's getting hit by key light and this value that isn't, and there's very little roll off. There's actually a little bit, and this looks pretty good. There's a little bit of roll off back in here, but it's just from here to here, all the same value. So I know that this light is here, and I know that it would be lighting him pretty friendly, but I would detach. I would play around with trying to detach this light from the actual light that's illuminating him, and do a little bit of light linking and put in the key light so it's actually further back behind this and striking him at an angle that can create more shaping across the face. So that would be number one. The other, so that's the main thing is the character lighting on this. Watch out for, there's like green reflection from above on these, and I'm not quite sure what that's reflecting, but they should feel like, just allow the coins to feel golden. Don't allow them to get too wonky with it. Other minor things, watch out. There looks like some kind of matte kind of cutting through these cards here, so just watch out for that. You can see like that line slashing through. I love the look of your bubbles, by the way. It's a thing that caustics do. It's just like the way of the bubble shape, like the bottom of the bubble actually reflects what's going on up top, and the top of the bubble reflects what's going on down here. So having that warm on top and coolness on the bottom is really good. I like the color scheme that you've got going. I like the cyan nature of the background. I think that's all working really well. It's really just a matter of creating some better shaping on the character, and I think that would be a really good first start. And the other thing, last thing before I move on to the still images for today, is the lantern. It's kind of universally glowing. It would be nice is find a little bit of reference, but usually there's like some filament on the inside that's actually causing the illumination, and that's going to be the super brightest one. And don't get me wrong, like we wouldn't see like the glass edge or anything, but there would be a little bit more variation in there, where you'd see like a little bit of stronger. The center of it would be more centralized strength, and then it would kind of fade out from there. All right, now we're going to hop over into our still images. So we've got, let me just scroll through these. So again, as always, you see your name at the top of the screen there. I'll go through them alphabetically today. Let's take a look. Oh, I have Annabelle's left over from yesterday. Let me go and close that one out. All right, let's start with Aaron. Aaron, this is looking really great. Love the color scheme, everything. Like you've got your flowers looking good, which is the hardest struggle of this one. Everything's looking really well there. Two things that I wanted to cover. So number one is that it looks like, and like I would encourage you again to keep pushing that brighter value, the sunlit value, because even in its brightest point, like even on the sunlit areas of the white and down here on the ground, we're still not seeing it go totally bright, right? Like if I'm looking at the levels here, there's still some value in there. And I think, so what I want to see is it more like that, right? Not, you know, that's a little bit bright, but I just wanted to exaggerate a little bit so you could see it. The other thing that I really wanted you to work on was getting playing a little bit more with the pockets of light that you're getting. So you're doing a really good job of isolating the light around her, but what's happening is, and this might be like there's no light hitting the van now, when I feel like there was some before. So it'd be nice if there was like a little bit of like a little area of light back there. You know, maybe you can use some light blockers. Also with her, it's like she's being hit universally, and it would be nice if there was like, you know, maybe this bottom part of her or something wasn't being hit by the key light. Like there's just a little bit more pockets. It's because it looks like most of the objects in the scene are either entirely being lit by the key light or entirely not. So it'd be nice to just kind of mix that up a little bit. And then a little bit of specular fill here on the fill side. So just a little, maybe like a spec only light to pick up some of those. Just a little bit more in here, because her skin is looking a little bit diffuse and matte in value. So I would try and get that in there. All right, for your other one, again, this is looking great. I don't really have any other notes at this point. The tail lights all look good. Everything looks good. It's just going to be a matter of getting this to be the highest resolution you can. And I talked about this I think I wrote this, but it's easier just to describe. So basically, one of the things that is done, or that I do when I'm working with this, because I know that you have limitations on what you can do in Nuke, but often what I do is I over render the raw render and then scale it down in Nuke into that 1920 by 1080. I don't know if it's limiting the file size of what you import, but or just what you export. But basically, let me show you an example. So like this is Jordan Jenkins here compared to yours, and when sorry, wrong one. So like this one is super super high resolution, right? Try that. Take that off, sorry. Right, like this one is a super big resolution, but all you'd have to do is scale it down, and what you get is a much more highly refined image. Even though it's scaled down, right? Like you get more detail, you get more fine values and things, and that might help out. So I'm sorry if you don't have the capability of doing that, but that's just one way that you can approach getting some more detail in these smaller elements in there. Okay, Annabelle, very cool project here. It's so funny that you added these, because I was just watching How to Train Your Dragon, and there was a shot with the Northern Lights in there, and I looked over at my wife and asked her, I was like, have you ever seen those? We should really get out there and see them, because they're incredible. So I love that you've got them included in here, and looking at your reference, I would encourage you to lean harder into the look. Like looking at the snow value down here versus what we're seeing like here and in like the mountains over here, and even in this concept art, I mean, you can really, I would push it up, like really kind of see it in the reflections of the windows, on the snow, on top here, like lean into the, because that's the cool part of the image. That's what makes what's going on unique here. So I would lean into those green values into the scene. Number 2, watch out for this contact point down here. Also, it'd be nice to maybe get a little more reflection in the windows here. Like these windows back here, you can assume that this is going to continue on off camera that way, and you might pick up some of those in here. This light looks really good. I like the fall off here. It would be nice if there was a little bit more spill onto the ground. Like you can see in these, there's like a little bit of spill down there and a little bit more influence on the street there. Again, and on that one as well. So it'd be nice to just kind of spill that out a little bit. But really, like this is structuring out really nicely. I think that your snow value is looking really good, which is tricky. It's really just a matter of pushing what you already have and pushing it further. I think is the next goal for you. All right, Ashley. Yeah, this composition is looking really good. One of the things, and this is kind of similar to what we were talking about with Aaron's here. Sorry, not that one. This one is just like creating some more pockets of, like you've got some light and dark back here. In this foreground area, it's like all kind of illuminated in the sunlight, so it'd be nice to get little pockets in there. Additionally, like looking at the difference between the brightness on the ground versus the brightness on the rug, they're a little bit different. Like the rug doesn't feel like it's getting fully illuminated by the sun. Like the same light that would cause this much brightness in the dirt would cause more brightness on the rug. In terms of the character lighting, the number one thing for you to work on is just defining the key side a little bit stronger. And by that, I mean like the key value is actually looking pretty good on her. But the problem is that we're kind of there's more light on her screen left side than I would anticipate. Like this, all this stuff feels very, very strong, and I would more heavily influence just the key light on the screen right side and allow the left side to go a little bit darker. And that's actually true on some of this stuff too. So just like, make sure that the light coming in from the screen right side is the dominant one, and then everything else is kind of falling secondary to that. You can also push more bounce light into here. You'd be surprised at how much light on a sunny day actually gets bounced up underneath trees. So I would kind of push that up a little bit. Additionally, I guess this is falling into shadow here. Never mind. I was going to say that feels a little bit dark, but I do see that that's in shadow a little bit. And yeah, let's start with that for now. I wonder and actually I was going to talk about this in this shot as well, because you both have kind of a similar thing. So let's actually talk about these two. So with yours, you're having a difficulty making connection to character because we're not seeing the entirety of her pupil. Like she's looking, her gaze is going up this way, and we're not really seeing into her eye. So I'm wondering, although I like your composition, and if this messes it up, just please ignore me saying this because I think you can get away with it. Is tilting the camera up a little bit so we can see more into her eye. And that's actually why I opened Annabelle's. I was looking at hers. Do you see how the camera's slightly up above and looking down and we can see more into the eye? That makes a big difference. So I'm wondering if we shouldn't kick the camera up a little bit to help us out. Because, it'll just help make a stronger connection to the character. Yeah. Okay. So that's to put a cap on Ashley. So that's what I would do. So focusing the key light on the screen right side, toning down the lights on the screen left, more pockets of light and shadow, just to create more focus on her face. Like it's a little bit of just like toning down some of these values in the shadows a little bit, getting more bounce light under here, and going from there. And then the key light on the rug as well. All right, Jordan. So like I said, increase that up here. There's a weird opacity thing happening here you might want to watch out for. I did want to mention, I did pull this up now that I think about it. Your original versus where we are now. Huge difference in just a very short period of time. So I wanted to commend you on the progress that you've made. So this is already coming together really, really well. You put in, So the other thing that you asked was about adding a different camera placement. While I think this could work, I actually like the intimacy of yours and how we're nice and close to it. By the way, the super low res is give a shout out and kind words to Jordan Osborne today because he had a bad Maya crash that lost a bunch of work. So be nice to him in the forums. Let's see. Okay, so tilt the camera up a little bit. I would say there are still, like, increase the radius on these lights that are causing these harsh shadows, because there's still a little bit of harshness in there. These super brights in the hair, and especially in the eyebrows, are a little bit too much. We may want to tone that down a little bit. And then we want to feel more, because like you're doing a really good job of feeling this left to right key light coming in here. I want to feel a little bit more of that on the background if we can. So just like, I mean, I'm not saying it needs to be illuminated entirely, but some splashes of sunlight on there so we can feel like shadows going across there, because the background's a little bit flattened there. But yeah, that would be my main focus for you for this next iteration there. All right, let's go back. Sorry, let's go back to other Jordan. This is Jordan Jenkins. Okay, love this one. This is looking really cool. 3 things I've noticed that I think that you could really improve what we're seeing here. Number 1 is, if there's any way to isolate the fur as it's like getting close to the skin in here, and basically around the edges there. It's just a little bit gray and a little bit lifted. I would try and darken that, maybe through ambient occlusion, maybe through just a opacity change on the or like some way of isolating the matte on just the lower part of the fur, just to darken that in there just a little bit more. Number 2 that I noticed is I like the lighting. It's really interesting because it's not like I can feel the influence of this like window light coming in here, right? Like it's so strong and so distinctive. But the lighting I didn't notice right away because it's not fully. It's like, you know, you get like a little specks hit here and here, but I don't feel it totally on the character. Like, and then also it's pretty crisp, and I don't feel like that. Like when you photograph lightning, it glows, man. Like it's really, really bright, and like the camera exposure that would pick up value in this shadowy region would not be able to keep lightning bolts and sparks like this in. So what I'm saying is if you want to keep those in, if they're essential, I would make more influence from them on the character and then make them a little brighter, glowier. Probably in the comp, I would do that. That being said, I actually don't know how much they're adding a little bit to the scene. You know, let's keep them in. I was going to say you could possibly pull those out too. Okay, so that's one. That's 2, and then number 3 that I would do, and I was playing around with this before, is I want to separate the character from the background a little bit more. And I'm going to do that by just darkening and slightly adding some cooler tones to the background. And I think that just by doing that, I think that'll help a little. So it's just like maybe a half a stop to a stop down in the background, and just a slight bit of cooler value in there to allow, because what that does is it helps emphasize the warmth in his fur and allow that to stand forward. A super finicky note, if you want any of those, is if we can get a little more shaping on the pupil. On the sclera. Try that again. The iris of the eye, the colored part of the eye there. Let's zoom in. So like, it's. Try that again. Nope. Basically, what I'm trying to say, and I'm doing a terrible job of zooming today. I don't know what happened to me on my zooming skills, but we've got light coming in this way, right? We've got light coming in from the screen right side. Okay. What happens to the iris is that the light actually skirts across, because it's concave, it'll actually illuminate this side of the eye a little bit more, and then this side of the eye will get darker. So it's totally fine on the fill side. I think that's okay. But what I would do in the comp, if you can isolate just the iris, is I would darken that part of the iris just a little bit to create some more shaping in there. It sounds dumb, but I think that would really, really help. Great job on this. This is looking beautiful, though. All right, Kat. Let's zoom down just a little bit. So with this one, let's see, we've got light coming in this way. I still feel like it's interesting because it feels like the wash is behind this pillar. right? Like that pillar, it feels like it's between these two pillars. I would almost create it like a wash over the entire frame on this side. But that being said, I'm starting to miss. So with the key light coming in from that way, I'm missing some more shadows than I thought we were going to be seeing. Like I would expect, I guess there's some down here, but like on this wall, there's just like nothing being cast. This wall feels pretty flat. This still feels pretty bright back there. I guess it's the sunlight or the skylight. Maybe it's a matter of toning that down. You know what? Maybe for the next iteration, let's try this. Could you render out a pass of just the key light and a pass of just the skylight? And don't worry about the wash for now. I just want to kind of combine those because I do want to like. I would just expect there to be longer shadows being cast along here if the sun's coming in from that angle, like especially underneath here. But we'll see how that plays out. So if you could do that, just and then I'll take them into Nuke and kind of start to balance them together and get a good look. Because I do think that could help out a lot. Some cool bounce light coming in down there. I think that's a lot of fun. But overall, yeah, everything feels a little bit. It's not quite generating enough shaping yet. And I want to work with you to see if we can improve that a little bit. So try that for the next iteration, and then we'll do that hopefully tomorrow. All right, Perle. A couple examples for you here. Okay, so we've got this one. Only thing on this is just her teeth are now a little bit too bright. I would just take those down. But this was a good. This was a good test for you. I don't know if just because of the simplicity of it, I don't know if this is something we want to put on our demo reel, but I think that we've pushed this one into a really good place. And I think that with some of the other work that you're doing, I think you could probably put pencils down on this one and call it done and call it a successful test and go on from there. Because I do think you've got some good shaping. You've got some really good stuff going on in there. And I think this one's ready to roll as is. For this one, this is looking really nice. It's I want to create more dark values, more shadows in here. Like looking at the back wall, it's pretty uniform. It does get a little bit brighter on this side and coming across. You did have 2 iterations up, so I saw this was the last one and then this one. I actually think that your previous one, if you just like kind of mix the two, I think that actually might work out better just because now we're feeling more of the key light coming in from that side on the character. And I like these like little bits of bright hits on her. And I can feel that rolling off from the screen right to the screen left. Now I want to feel it a little bit more on her body. Like her shirt feels pretty uniformly lit. These flowers in the foreground feel pretty uniformly lit. So I would really kind of emphasize that screen right side. And then again, the fall off on this wall, it can be emphasized a little bit more. And also like the key light's going to be pretty warm. So the fact that wall is that cool, we can neutralize that down a little bit. And then because you don't necessarily, with a character this saturated and this bright, you don't necessarily need to offset it too much with that cool wall. Because I see what you're doing and your heart's in the right place and your mind is in the right place. But it's gone too far and it's kind of disjointing the lighting from the background to the foreground. And then I think I would take these foreground elements and push them out a little bit more, and then treat them as if they're in shadow. So don't allow the key light to hit those. Really just allow the key light to hit what's going on here in the middle all over there. So let's start there, and then we will move on from there. But that is all for today. If you guys have any questions at all, let us know. And again, send a happy message to Jordan Osborne. He had a rough Maya crash, and we've all been there, and we need to support each other on that one. All right, happy lighting, everybody.